So you're playing Genshin, you do a 10 pull, and when you don't get a 5-star, you do get 4-star Thoma. Now what do you get with Thoma besides the best main in all of Inazuma, but not Tevat, because that, of course, is Noelle? Well, Thoma is a pole arm wielding pyro user who has found a much more usefulness niche recently with the introduction of some newer characters than he had in the past. And in this video, we're going to look at the basics of Thoma. So first, let's look at Thoma's normal attacks. His normal attacks are normal, right? They just do physical damage. There's really nothing special about them yet. They do something later. They don't change, but they do something later, but we'll get to that. And the thing with Thoma's kit in its entirety, it's not complicated and it's very, very simple to use. So his skill is simply going to do an instance of pyro AoE damage, as well as put a shield up around your active on-field character. If you swap Thoma off to somebody else, the shield stays active. This shield does scale off of his HP, so keep that in mind whenever you're trying to build your Thoma. Now that's kind of it for his skill, right? That's really it. It makes the shield, you can swap another character, that's it. His burst is going to be the main thing in his kit. It's what you're going to be using the most, or at least what you're going to be trying to use the most of. His burst is going to do an instance of AoE pyro damage, as well as put up a shield around you. Now the difference between his skill shield and his burst shield is that his burst shield is reapplied. So whenever your active on-field character does a normal plunging or charge attack, it is going to reapply the shield as well as doing an instance of pyro damage. This is going to reapply pyro and reapply a shield based on his max HP. So as we're going through and as we're using Thoma's normal attacks right now that you're seeing, you're going to see an instance of pyro damage kind of go out, and we're going to get another shield. If we swap to another character like Kinich, when Kinich does a normal attack, you're going to see again the instance of pyro go out, and then it's going to reapply the shield. So this allows for Thoma to do a couple of really, really good things in specifically this team of Kinich, Emily, Thoma, and Bennett, as well as a Burgeon team with like Kinich, Xingqiu, or Yelan, Thoma, and Bennett. This makes Thoma the best Burgeon trigger in the game. Now, up until kind of Kinich and Emily's release, Burgeon was iffy, right? Because burning was not as good of a reaction as Quicken for aggravate and spread reactions. Burning was considered to be a very, very bad reaction, probably one of the worst reactions in the game. Now, with Kinich and Emily, it is considered a very, very good reaction, but you have to use Kinich or Emily. Without those two characters, it's not great still. So if you have Kinich or Emily and you want to do a burning team or you want to do a Burgeon team, then Thoma is going to be your best Burgeon trigger in the game. And we'll talk more about how we can kind of fill that role whenever we get to artifacts and weapons. So to restate Thoma's kit, his skill makes a shield and his burst makes a shield. And the burst, whenever your on-field character does normal attacks, charge attacks, plunging attacks, it is going to reapply the shield, and it is going to do an instance of pyro damage. That's it. That's not, his kit is very, very easy to understand. Now that does make his main utility come through his burst, which means that we need to have enough energy recharge on him. And that's where the problems kind of start to come in. Now, before we get into his artifacts, let's take a look at his passives real quick. When your active character obtains or refreshes a blazing barrier, which is going to be his skill, then the shield strength will be increased with a maximum of 5 stacks. So we can just get a really, really strong shield through the use of this. Now, his other passive is going to increase the damage dealt through his burst by a certain amount of his HP. So it's just going to increase his damage a little bit, even if you're building him for a shield bot. Now the build that we are going to do for Thoma is going to differ depending on if you're going to be running him in something like this burning team or a Burgeon team. It's going to greatly differ on artifacts and weapon dependent on which kind of team you're going to go into. So first we're going to look at a burning build. Now, this Thoma is a pure support build, right? And we're going to talk about 3 options for Thoma. First is going to be the one that I used in this video, and that is actually going to be a full HP, as well as energy recharge sands, Deepwood's memory artifact set. Because this team is going to focus on Emily and Kinich being our main source of damage, so it's going to be all Dendro, we need a Deepwoods user. Thoma can be the Deepwoods user in this team. This can actually be a fairly good Deepwoods user specifically in this team, because we want to shred resistances off of the enemy. That way Kinich and Emily can do more damage. And because his burst does damage through Kinich's normal attacks to build up Kinich's skill, which is his main source of damage, it is going to reapply the Dendro resistant shred to the enemy. Now on this, I am running an ER Sands and then HP Goblet, HP Circlet, because I still want his shield to be strong enough while having enough energy recharge to use it regularly. Another option is going to be Noblesse. You can use Noblesse. In this team, Bennett is going to be my Noblesse user. So if your team does not have a Noblesse user and you want to have an attack buff, the Noblesse can be very, very good for Thoma. I think I'm going to do 4, not 3. I know I said 3, I'm going to do 4. His third one is going to be Tenacity. This is going to be very, very good. Now, because the reapplication of the shield, I believe, is considered skill, if the skill hits it, it is going to actually be able to keep up the Tenacity buff. So you're going to get HP from Tenacity, and then the 4 piece is going to give an attack buff to your team after your skill hits your opponent. I believe that because the reapplication of the shield is considered skill damage, I believe that this does trigger Tenacity. And then the fourth option is just going to be Emblem from Severed Fates. We need a ton of energy recharge on him anyway. If we want to increase the damage that's going to come from his burst, we can do Emblem. Now, if you're going to be running him in a Burgeon, then we are going to do a completely different artifact set. You can have a couple of options. First is going to be Deep Woods, again, with all EM instead of ER, HP, and HP. This is going to increase the amount of damage that the enemy takes from the Burgeon reaction that he is doing. Your second option is going to be something like Flowers of Paradise Lost. This is going to be the best Burgeon or Hybrid Bloom set in the game by a very, very small margin. So if you have a good set of this is going to be phenomenal. Your third option is going to be Gilded, which is just going to give you a ton of EM, which is how the damage for Burgeon is calculated. The level of the Pyro character or the Burgeon trigger and the elemental mastery of the Burgeon trigger. So through this, you can get a ton of EM onto him, onto Thoma, to make those Burgeon damage go through the roof. And then of course you can just do like a 2-piece just to try to stack as much EM as you can. Now for weapons, again, it's going to greatly depend on what you're going to use him for. In this video, I was using Favonius. Favonius is going to be a phenomenal weapon for him, especially in this team. We need that energy recharge to continuously have his burst up, so that way we can continuously get the Dendro shred off the enemy and the reapplication of Pyro. Another option that you can do is going to be Rightful Reward. This is going to get up HP, and then it's going to give you energy back in the passive. You would need to R5 this, though, to really kind of help him get that energy back, and it's only when he's healed. So you have to make sure that you're running a healer in your team, and in this instance, it would be Bennett. You can use the event weapon that we had a little while ago, which is going to give energy recharge and then give an attack increase. It's not going to give a ton of energy recharge, though. At this point, I would probably just stick to Favonius. Now, if you are going to be doing him in a Burgeon team, we need Elemental Mastery. You really have 2 good options, one of them being Dragon's Bane, which is going to give you a ton of EM. However, you need to make sure you have enough energy recharge in the substats of his artifacts to get him to be able to use his burst often. He doesn't produce a ton of energy on his own, so you have to have a way to get him energy to be able to use his burst. That's why the more regularly used option is going to be the Kitayan Crossbear, which is the Inazuma craftable weapon. Yes, this is going to give you less elemental mastery, but in the passive, if you R5 it, you can actually get more energy back. Now at R5, you are going to get back like 15 energy from the passive. And there is also a constellation on Thoma to make this weapon can fix a lot of your energy recharge issues. So this is most likely going to be the weapon that you're going to want to use for him in a Burgeon team. Speaking of constellations, I do have C6. Let's run through them real quick. The first one is going to be that whenever you have a character that is protected by the shield, whenever they attack, it's just going to decrease the cooldown of his skill and his burst. Number 2, it's going to increase the duration of his burst, which can be very, very good. It was C4 that I was thinking about. C4 is going to give you 15 energy after using his burst. So through the Kitayan Crossbear at R5 and this, you are going to get back 30 energy immediately back to him. And then C6 is going to be whenever the Blazing Berry is going to be obtained or refreshed, which will happen through his burst, the damage dealt by all party members' normal charge and plunging attacks can be increased. So this can be good for someone like Arlecchino. Now, Thoma is a character that I haven't played a ton of. I did level 90 him to use him in a Burgeon team with Kinich, but I kind of actually like using him in this Burning team that I was using in this video. So I might actually kind of keep Kinich, Emily, and Thoma together to use in a Burning team, because Bennett can be very, very good. And I've got plenty of teams that don't need Bennett that I can use to have multiple sides of the Abyss, right? I'm not a huge fan of Kinich. I don't even have like a full artifact set for him. I think in this video I'm running like a two-piece. Emily, I do have a full set for. And then of course, Thoma and Bennett would both already have full sets. So I might actually kind of keep this team together for a little bit, because using this team in this video is actually pretty fun. What teams do you like Bennett in? Let me know down in the comments. Now that is going to be it for this video. Cookie has green hair, I have green hair, and I will see you in the next one.